The galaxy had always looked down on humanity. Among the myriad advanced civilizations, humans were considered fragile, weak, and barely worthy of attention. Other species with their enormous warships, advanced technologies, and centuries of experience sneered at the small, scattered human colonies in distant star systems. Yet humans had one trait the galaxy could never measure: sheer, unrelenting determination. It began quietly, on the edge of the Orion expanse. A fleet of human exploration ships had been dispatched to chart unexplored star systems. They were not powerful. Their ships were smaller, their weapons less sophisticated, and their crews less experienced than those of the galaxy's superpowers. But humans had courage, curiosity, and adaptability, their greatest strengths. Captain Elena Marlowe, a veteran of countless human skirmishes with pirates and rogue factions, led the expedition. She had steel-gray eyes that seemed to weigh every possibility, and a mind that never rested. Her crew trusted her implicitly because they knew she would never lead them blindly into danger. The fleet's sensors detected an anomaly near a dead star. What appeared initially as a simple energy signature turned out to be an artifact of enormous power, a device of unknown origin, radiating energy strong enough to affect nearby star systems. Its design was elegant, almost organic, unlike any human creation. Marlowe studied it carefully. She knew immediately that it was not just a relic. It was dangerous and valuable. "We need to secure it," she said to her first officer, Commander Jace Renner, but cautiously. "Whatever made this?" "It's not human," Renner nodded. "Agreed. I'll prepare the retrieval team." The artifact's surface shimmered as the humans approached. Strange symbols glowed faintly, pulsing with a rhythm that seemed almost alive. Elena felt a shiver run down her spine. This was history waiting to happen, or a trap. Despite the warning signs, they retrieved it. Humanity had always been brave, sometimes to the point of recklessness. The artifact was placed securely in the hold of the lead ship, Horizon's Edge. No one on the team suspected the consequences of their action. Far across the stars, in the heart of the Xylar Dominion, the alarm rang. The Xylar were the galaxy's dominant species, massive reptilian beings with technology that could crush entire fleets. The artifact they had lost was no ordinary object. It was a core component of their planetary defense network. Without it, their power over certain regions weakened. When they traced its signal to the humans, fury erupted. The Dominion dispatched a fleet immediately. Their ships were enormous, bristling with weapons that could annihilate entire planets. "Humans!" the Xylar commander Vorin hissed, his voice echoing across the communication channel. "You dare touch what does not belong to you? Prepare to die." Back on the human fleet, alarms blared. The Xylar fleet appeared like a wall of metal and fire, dwarfing every human vessel. For a moment, fear gripped the human crews. They were outmatched, outgunned, and outnumbered. But Elena took a deep breath. Fear had never stopped humans before. "Form defensive formations," she commanded. "Use the nebula for cover. We may be small, but we're not helpless." The humans scattered into the thick clouds of the Orion Nebula, using every tactic at their disposal. Their ships were faster and more maneuverable, able to weave through asteroid fields and dense gas clouds that larger Xylar ships could not navigate. The first encounter was brutal. Xylar plasma cannons tore through space, igniting the void with deadly energy beams. Humans returned fire with their limited arsenal, relying on precision and cunning rather than sheer power. Lieutenant Mara Kessler, piloting one of the smaller human ships, darted through enemy fire with uncanny skill. She led a group of fighters on a daring flanking maneuver, striking the flank of a Xylar destroyer. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash, sending shards of metal spinning across the nebula. The humans cheered, not because they were safe, they were far from it, but because they had struck fear into an enemy that had thought them insignificant. This small victory would echo across the galaxy in ways no one could yet imagine. As the battle raged, Elena made a bold decision. Instead of retreating, she directed the fleet toward a Xylar supply convoy, hoping to cripple their resources before the main attack could devastate human colonies. It was risky. Failure could mean annihilation. But humans thrived on risk. They had survived countless disasters on Earth and in their colonies. They had always adapted, and they would adapt again. The ambush was daring and precise. Humans used makeshift decoys and holographic projections to confuse the Xylar fleet. When the moment was right, they struck. Explosions rippled across the void as supply ships erupted into flames. The Xylar were shocked. No species had ever dared to attack so boldly, and certainly not with such limited numbers. Captain Marlowe watched the destruction unfold on her screens, feeling a mix of satisfaction and concern. "Keep moving," she ordered. "We can't linger. This is only the beginning." The humans retreated successfully, taking only minimal losses, but the impact of their attack spread faster than any laser blast. Across the galaxy, word of humanity's audacity traveled. Merchants, explorers, and even rival empires whispered the same thought. Humans were unpredictable, dangerous, and fearless. Back on Earth, the news of the encounter reached government leaders. Panic and awe mixed in equal measure. Humanity was not just being attacked, they were being noticed. For centuries, humans had been underestimated, dismissed as primitive. Now the galaxy was starting to pay attention. Meanwhile, on distant Xylar worlds, Commander Voron's anger grew. How could such fragile beings cause so much damage? How could they move with such speed, strike with such precision, and escape unharmed? For the first time, the Xylar feared the humans. In the following weeks, humanity mobilized. Earth's engineers worked tirelessly, retrofitting old ships with improved shields, faster engines, and innovative weapon systems. Colonists volunteered for training, motivated by pride, fear, and survival. Every human outpost became a bastion of resilience. Every fleet a symbol of defiance. Elena Marlowe convened her officers aboard Horizon's Edge. "The Xylar will come for us," she said, her voice calm but firm. "They will not stop until every human ship is destroyed. But we will not run. We will fight, we will adapt, and we will survive. And when they least expect it, we will show them the strength of humanity." Commander Renner nodded. "We've survived worse, and we've always found a way." In secret, humans also began experimenting with the artifact. Scientists worked day and night to understand its power. They did not yet know the full extent of its capabilities, but it was clear that it could shift the balance of power in the galaxy. The knowledge that the artifact could be a tool, possibly a weapon, added another layer of hope and tension. The galaxy, meanwhile, braced for the inevitable war. Xylar propaganda painted humans as reckless thieves, a species too primitive to understand the dangers they had unleashed. Other civilizations watched carefully, some curious, some fearful, but all aware that humanity had begun to change the rules of engagement. Humanity had always relied on one thing above all: adaptability. On Earth, humans had survived ice ages, pandemics, world wars, and disasters beyond reckoning. That resilience had been encoded into their very nature. Now, in the cold expanse of space, humans were beginning to prove it once again. And as the stars burned silently around the Orion expanse, one truth became undeniable. Humanity had sparked a war that would shake the galaxy. A war that the Xylar Dominion believed would be swift and decisive. Yet humans had other plans. Captain Marlowe stood on the bridge of Horizon's Edge, watching her crew prepare for the battles to come. Their faces were grim but determined. Each one understood the stakes, and yet none wavered. Fear existed, yes, but it did not dominate. It sharpened. It motivated. It drove them forward. The galaxy may tremble at our name one day, Elena thought, but not because we are weak, because we will not be ignored. Because we fight not just to survive, but to show the universe what humans are truly capable of. The first shots had been fired. The spark of war was now a roaring flame, and humanity, underestimated for too long, was ready to burn brighter than anyone had imagined. The galaxy watched as humanity refused to bow. The first strike against the Xylar Dominion had sent shockwaves across star systems. Where once humans had been dismissed as weak, they were now seen as unpredictable, dangerous, and unrelenting. The Xylar, furious at their losses, vowed to annihilate humanity completely. Their fleets moved like a shadow across the stars, striking at human colonies without warning. Captain Elena Marlowe stood on the bridge of Horizon's Edge, staring at the incoming fleet on her display. The Xylar numbers were overwhelming. Hundreds of massive warships, each bristling with weapons far beyond what humans had ever faced, now approached the human colony of Seraphis Prime. "Colonies under attack, Captain," reported Lieutenant Kessler, her voice steady despite the panic in the comms. "They've already breached the outer defenses." Elena took a deep breath. Fear was natural, but humans had never allowed fear to dictate their actions. Prepare the fleet for immediate deployment, she ordered. We fight smart, not blindly. We use the terrain, the nebula fields, and every advantage we have. And above all, stay alive. Renner, her first officer, leaned over the tactical display. We're outnumbered at least 10 to 1. We can't meet them head-on. But if we split into small groups and use hit-and-run tactics, we might slow them down and save the colonies. Elena nodded. Exactly. Humanity's strength has always been its adaptability. Let's show them why they should fear us. The human fleet deployed in small, fast-moving squadrons, each targeting key points in the Xylar advance. The larger Xylar warships had immense firepower, but they were cumbersome. Human pilots zipped through asteroid belts and ion clouds, striking supply lines and command vessels before vanishing like ghosts. Lieutenant Mara Kessler led a squadron through a narrow asteroid corridor. Their sensors barely detected the massive Xylar destroyers following them. Stick to the shadows, she instructed. They can't follow us here. Once we're behind them, we hit hard and fast. The squadron emerged on the far side of a destroyer. Mara fired precision lasers at its fuel lines. The explosion rocked the Xylar fleet, sending debris spinning into space. The human ships retreated just as quickly as they had appeared. Impressive, Elena said to Renner. They won't know what hit them. As the days passed, humans employed increasingly unconventional tactics. Engineers retrofitted older ships with improvised weapons. One team created pulse disruptors that could temporarily disable Xylar shields. Another rigged ships to release swarms of drones that acted like tiny missiles, overwhelming enemy targeting systems. Even on the ground, humans fought with unmatched ingenuity. Colonists armed themselves with exosuits and defensive turrets, turning every planet into a fortress. Where Xylar forces expected an easy conquest, they found ambushes, traps, and relentless resistance. Meanwhile, the Xylar Dominion grew desperate. Commander Voran ordered his fleets to annihilate humanity completely, but each attempt ended in humiliation. Ships were lost, ground forces scattered, and the humans' audacity only grew. Voran began to fear not just their courage, but their intelligence. Humans could adapt, anticipate, and exploit weaknesses faster than any algorithm the Xylar had developed. One critical moment came near the Orion Nebula, where a massive Xylar warship, Vorath's Fury, led a full-scale attack on human colonies. The ship's firepower was enough to obliterate entire cities, yet humans refused to flee. Captain Marlowe formulated a daring plan. Using the nebula's dense gas clouds, she led a squadron of human ships directly into the heart of the Xylar formation. They feigned retreat, luring Vorath's Fury into a narrow passage where its size became a disadvantage. Now, Elena shouted. Human ships swarmed from all sides, their pulse disruptors temporarily disabling the Xylar shields. Engineers had prepared explosives that detonated near critical systems. The massive warship shuddered as explosions tore through its hull. Mara Kessler's squadron delivered the final strike, crippling the destroyer completely. The destruction of Vorath's Fury sent a clear message. Humans were not just surviving. They were fighting back with intelligence, coordination, and daring. Across the galaxy, alien species began to whisper about humanity, fear mixed with respect. No one had ever faced such an unpredictable enemy. Back on Earth, the human population watched reports of the battles in awe. For generations, humans had been told they were insignificant on the galactic stage. Now they saw that their courage, ingenuity, and unity could rival even the most advanced species. Pride and hope surged across the colonies. Yet humanity did not grow arrogant. Captain Marlowe knew better than anyone that the Xylar would not give up easily. This is just the beginning, she warned her officers. They will strike harder. They will strike smarter. But so will we. Renner studied the tactical displays, noting patterns in the Xylar movements. They're learning, he said quietly. Every time we hit them, they adapt. We need to stay unpredictable. Elena smiled grimly. That's humanity. We're always adapting. We survive. And we fight harder when cornered. As the weeks turned into months, the war escalated. Human fleets became faster, more efficient, and more cunning. Engineers discovered new ways to enhance shields, weapons, and propulsion. Pilots trained rigorously, developing maneuvers that would become legendary. In one particularly daring mission, a squadron of human ships infiltrated a heavily guarded Xylar stronghold to rescue prisoners of war. Using stealth tactics and their knowledge of Xylar protocols, humans bypassed sensors and security measures, freeing dozens of captured colonists. The operation was a stunning success. further solidifying humanity's reputation as a species capable of feats that defied expectation. Even diplomacy became a weapon. Humans offered assistance to other alien species oppressed or exploited by the Xylar. These acts of honor and courage earned humanity allies who would otherwise have remained neutral or even hostile. Humanity's reputation evolved. They were feared for their power, respected for their intelligence, and admired for their courage. The Xylar Dominion, however, was not easily deterred. Commander Voran called a meeting of his generals. "These humans, they are not like anything we have faced," he growled. "They are bold, they are clever, and they fight without fear. We must crush them completely. No mercy, no hesitation." But the more the Xylar pressed, the more humans adapted. They created decoy fleets to confuse enemy sensors, launched surprise attacks on supply lines, and employed unconventional weapons that exploited weaknesses the Xylar had never anticipated. One night, Captain Marlowe stood alone on the observation deck of Horizon's Edge, gazing at the stars. The war was far from over, yet humanity had already made its mark. She thought of the young soldiers training on distant colonies, of the engineers working tirelessly to improve their ships, and of the brave pilots who had risked everything in battle. "They think they can scare us," she murmured, "but fear is our weapon too. Not the fear we feel, but the fear we inspire." The humans' audacity reached its peak during the Battle of the Nebula Expanse. A massive Xylar fleet, seeking to finally crush humanity, advanced toward a critical human colony. The fleet was immense, every ship armed with devastating weapons, yet humans refused to retreat. Elena divided her forces into small mobile units. Each unit struck with precision, targeting weak points in the enemy formation. Mines disguised as asteroids detonated near Xylar warships, disabling engines and shields. Human pilots used maneuvers so daring that even the Xylar were stunned. During the battle, Mara Kessler led a daring assault on the enemy command ship. Navigating through intense fire, her squadron delivered explosive charges that crippled the flagship. The Xylar fleet, now leaderless and in disarray, began to retreat. Humans had done the impossible. They had turned the tide of a battle against overwhelming odds. Victory brought a mixture of relief and determination. Humans celebrated their success, but they knew the war was far from over. Every victory was a lesson, every defeat a warning. Humanity had shown the galaxy that it could not be underestimated, yet they would need every ounce of courage and ingenuity to survive what lay ahead. In the aftermath, stories of human heroism spread across star systems. Pilots became legends, engineers were hailed as geniuses, and entire fleets were remembered for their audacity. Even species that had once mocked humanity now spoke with respect and a measure of fear. Captain Marlowe convened her officers once again. "The galaxy is beginning to understand one thing," she said. "Humans are not weak. Humans are not predictable. And humans will fight for their survival no matter the cost. The Xylar think they can crush us, but they have only awakened a storm they cannot control." Renner nodded. "They may have numbers, technology, and power, but we have what they cannot anticipate: human courage, creativity, and determination. They will learn that the hard way." As the human fleet prepared for the next campaign, one thing was clear: humanity had changed the galaxy's perception forever. No longer the overlooked, underestimated species, humans had become a force to be reckoned with. The Xylar Dominion and every other empire now knew that when humans fought, they fought not just to survive, but to win, and to inspire fear in the hearts of those who dared challenge them. And so the war continued. The galaxy trembled at humanity's name, whispering tales of a species that had defied the impossible. The galaxy was changing. Tales of human courage and ingenuity had spread across star systems faster than light. Where once humans had been dismissed as insignificant, now whispers of fear and respect followed their name. Alien species that had never interacted with humans were reconsidering their stance. Some offered cautious alliances. Others simply moved away, unwilling to risk encountering a species whose reputation had grown legendary. Yet for humanity, this was not the time for arrogance. Captain Elena Marlowe understood that every victory brought new challenges. The Xylar Dominion, humiliated repeatedly, would not relent. They would return with larger fleets, sharper tactics, and more ruthless strategies. Humanity needed to evolve, or face extinction. On the bridge of Horizon's Edge, Elena stood over the tactical display, observing incoming reports from human fleets scattered across the galaxy. Every Xylar movement, she said, we must anticipate. Every colony, every ship, every system is a chessboard, and we cannot afford to be outmaneuvered. Commander Jace Renner, ever the strategist, analyzed patterns in Xylar behavior. They're consolidating, he said. They're forming alliances with other species who fear us. They're trying to isolate humanity before a final strike. Elena nodded. Then we adapt. We make allies of our own. We show the galaxy that humans are not just fighters, they are survivors, problem solvers, and, if necessary, protectors. Humanity's efforts went beyond the battlefield. Diplomatic envoys traveled to nearby star systems, offering assistance to oppressed or threatened species.
Humans shared technology that improved defenses and communication.
They offered protection without subjugation, earning trust and admiration. Across the stars, humans were becoming symbols not only of strength but of honor. Even as they helped others, humans prepared for the inevitable return of the Xylar. Engineers worked tirelessly to improve ship designs, enhance shields, and invent weapons capable of matching the Dominion's firepower. Scientists experimented with the alien artifact recovered months earlier, slowly unlocking its energy potential. The artifact could power weapons, defenses, or even propulsion systems far beyond anything previously possible. It was humanity's secret advantage. Then came the first sign that the galaxy's perception of humans was about to shift again. Near the nebula expanse, a coalition of alien forces loyal to the Xylar prepared to strike a critical human colony. The humans had expected this, but the scale of the attack was staggering. Hundreds of ships from multiple species converged on a single point, intending to crush the humans once and for all. Captain Marlowe convened her officers. "This is the test we've been preparing for," she said. "The enemy believes they can overwhelm us. They underestimate humans, and that is their greatest mistake." The human fleet deployed strategically. Smaller, faster ships formed the vanguard, using hit-and-run tactics to disrupt the enemy formation. Engineers activated experimental weapons on larger ships, creating energy fields that destabilized enemy shields. Every human move was calculated, every decision designed to turn weakness into strength. Lieutenant Mara Kessler led a daring assault on the Coalition's command ship. Her squadron navigated through dense nebula clouds, evading massive weapons fire. She unleashed a series of precision strikes that disabled key systems, causing chaos among the Coalition forces. The flagship, once the pride of multiple species, now floated powerless in space. The battle spread across the nebula, each skirmish showcasing human adaptability. Ground forces on the colony fought with ingenuity as well. Automated defense turrets were programmed to anticipate enemy movement. Colonists used camouflage and traps to slow invaders. Even when cornered, humans found ways to turn the fight in their favor. By the end of the battle, the Coalition fleet was in retreat. Losses were heavy on both sides, but humans had proven their capability once again. The galaxy began to take notice, not just of their courage, but of their intelligence. Humans were no longer seen as reckless. They were seen as brilliant tacticians, capable of adapting to any threat. In the aftermath, Captain Marlowe reflected on their progress. "The galaxy fears us now," she told her officers. But it is not fear alone. They respect what humans can do, and respect combined with fear is a powerful deterrent. Renner pointed to the reports of alien envoys approaching human colonies. "They want alliances," he said. "Many species that once avoided us are seeking protection. Humanity's reputation is becoming legendary." Elena smiled. "Legendary or not, we cannot relax. Every alliance we form is a responsibility. Every victory is a challenge. The Xylar will not stop, and neither will we." Humanity's growing reputation caused friction among other empires. Some species, long dominant in their sectors, felt threatened by human expansion and ingenuity. They sent spies and saboteurs, attempting to disrupt human operations, but humans as always adapted. Intelligence officers detected the plots, countered sabotage attempts, and even turned enemy agents into allies. Meanwhile, the human fleet experimented with new strategies. Squadrons were divided into flexible units capable of independent action. Engineers retrofitted ships with hybrid energy weapons, capable of targeting shields or hulls depending on the need. Pilots trained relentlessly, practicing maneuvers that would be remembered for generations. One particularly critical mission involved defending the colony of Arcturus IV. The Xylar, seeking revenge for previous defeats, launched a massive assault. Entire fleets moved in, intending to crush the colony in hours. But humans had prepared. Captain Marlowe deployed smaller, highly mobile units to harass the enemy, striking supply lines and targeting vulnerable points. Ground defenses were coordinated with orbital support, creating a web of fire that slowed the attackers. Human ingenuity shone brightest when a squadron led by Lieutenant Kessler infiltrated the enemy flagship, planting energy disruptors that crippled its weapons. The battle lasted for days. Supplies ran low and casualties mounted, yet humans refused to yield. Every ship, every soldier, every colonist fought with determination born of survival instinct and pride. In the end, the Xylar withdrew, humiliated once more. Humanity's victories sent a clear message to the galaxy. Humans were no longer to be underestimated. They were clever, courageous, and adaptable. They could fight against overwhelming odds and still prevail. The galaxy's response was remarkable. Some species offered formal alliances, sending fleets to coordinate with human forces. Others, fearful of human power, avoided confrontation entirely. Across star systems, humans were respected, admired, and feared. Yet even as humans rose in reputation, Captain Marlowe remained cautious. "Respect and fear are tools," she said, "but they are not enough to guarantee survival. We must continue to grow stronger, smarter, and more united." Renner agreed. "We've shown the galaxy our strength, but the Xylar will return. They always do. And next time they will come prepared." Elena looked at the stars, thinking of the countless systems still vulnerable to attack. "Then we prepare, not just to fight, but to show that humanity is unstoppable when united. They will see that we do not just survive. We conquer challenges, we inspire hope, and we redefine what it means to be human." In secret, scientists continued to study the alien artifact. Slowly, they unlocked new capabilities. Energy from the device could enhance weapons, shields, and even propulsion systems. It was a potential game changer, one that could tip the balance in humanity's favor in future battles. Yet the scientists proceeded cautiously, knowing that misuse could be catastrophic. The war was no longer about mere survival. It had become a testament to human resilience, creativity, and determination. Each victory, each clever tactic, each daring mission reinforced the legend of humanity. The galaxy had begun to understand that humans were more than just fighters. They were thinkers, planners, and innovators capable of feats no one had imagined. One of the most daring missions occurred near the Helios Rift, a region of space known for unpredictable energy storms. The Xylar had stationed a fleet to ambush human ships passing through. But humans, anticipating the trap, used the storms to their advantage. They navigated the treacherous rift with skill, using natural energy surges to mask their movements. When the Xylar attacked, human ships struck from unexpected angles, disabling several enemy vessels and forcing a retreat. The Helios Rift battle became another story in humanity's growing legend. Pilots were celebrated, engineers praised, and the courage of ground forces honored. Across colonies, humans began to see themselves not as the galaxy's underdogs, but as a force capable of shaping its future. Even among allies, humans stood out. Their willingness to take risks, adapt quickly, and fight with honor impressed even the most advanced species. Humans were no longer just participants in galactic affairs. They were leaders, innovators, and symbols of resilience. Captain Marlowe addressed her fleet after the Helios Rift victory. "We have shown what humans can do," she said. "Not through brute force alone, but through intelligence, courage, and unity. The galaxy is beginning to understand our power, but this is only the beginning. We must remain vigilant, continue to innovate, and never forget that our strength lies not just in our weapons, but in our spirit." Renner added, "The Xylar will strike again. Others may join them. But humanity has shown that it cannot be crushed." The galaxy held its breath. Stories of human ingenuity and courage had spread far and wide, and now even the most distant civilizations understood one truth. Humans were not to be underestimated. They were clever, adaptable, and fearless. They had survived impossible odds, turned defeats into lessons, and transformed their weaknesses into weapons. Yet the Xylar Dominion had not forgotten. Humiliated time and again, their leaders convened on the shattered world of Voron Prime. Commander Vorin, scarred by defeat and seething with fury, addressed the gathered generals. "These humans, they mock us," he hissed. "They destroy our fleets, ruin our plans, and survive where others perish. Enough is enough. We will crush humanity completely. No mercy, no hesitation. The galaxy must remember that the Xylar are supreme." Across star systems, humans sensed the impending storm. Captain Elena Marlowe gathered her fleet aboard Horizon's Edge. Every human ship was prepared for the fight of their lives. Engineers had completed enhancements to shields, weapons, and propulsion systems. Pilots trained tirelessly, their skills sharpened by months of battle. Humanity had learned, adapted, and grown stronger with each encounter. Elena addressed her officers, her voice steady, her eyes unwavering. "This is it," she said. "The Xylar and their allies believe they can end us, but they have only strengthened our resolve. Remember what humanity is capable of. We fight not just to survive, but to show the galaxy that we are unstoppable. Every ship, every soldier, every colony is part of this fight. We cannot fail," Commander Renner added. "We've faced worse odds before. We've adapted, learned, and won. This will be no different. Humanity does not yield. Humanity conquers challenges, and we will conquer this one too." The Xylar fleet emerged from hyperspace near the human stronghold of Nova Prime. Hundreds of massive warships, armed with devastating weapons, advanced in perfect formation. For a moment, the human crews felt the weight of the impending battle. The scale of the attack was unlike anything they had ever faced. Yet fear did not dominate. It sharpened focus. It strengthened resolve. Humanity had survived countless disasters on Earth and among the stars. They had faced superior enemies and had always risen stronger. Captain Marlowe deployed the human fleet strategically. Smaller, faster units scattered to strike vulnerable points. Larger ships created defensive lines, their experimental energy fields capable of deflecting the most powerful Xylar weapons. Humans had turned intelligence, speed, and creativity into weapons that even the Xylar had not anticipated. Lieutenant Mara Kessler led a squadron on a daring mission to infiltrate the enemy flagship. Navigating through dense asteroid fields, they avoided detection and reached the heart of the Xylar command ship. Using a combination of stealth technology and precise attacks, Mara's squadron disabled key weapon systems, throwing the entire fleet into disarray. On the ground, colonies coordinated with orbital forces. Automated defense turrets fired with unerring accuracy, and colonists executed tactics that turned the terrain into an advantage. Even when enemy forces breached outer defenses, humans adapted quickly, creating new barriers and ambush points. The battle raged for days. Explosions lit up space, lasers streaked across the void, and every move tested the limits of human courage and ingenuity. Despite being outnumbered, humans turned the fight into a demonstration of adaptability and determination. Captain Marlowe made the bold decision to use the alien artifact, now fully understood by human scientists. The device emitted concentrated energy pulses that disrupted enemy shields and propulsion systems. Xylar ships faltered as their attacks weakened, giving humans the opening they needed. Mara Kessler's squadron struck again, targeting command nodes on multiple Xylar vessels. Explosions rocked the enemy fleet. Ships once considered invincible now drifted powerless in space. Humanity's reputation as clever, unstoppable fighters grew even stronger. Even the Xylar allies, who had hoped to dominate the battle, began to retreat. They had seen firsthand the resilience, strategy, and adaptability of humans. For the first time, entire fleets questioned whether victory against humanity was possible. Captain Marlowe watched the battlefield unfold. "This is humanity," she said to her officers. "We adapt, we overcome, and we fight for every star, every colony, every life. The galaxy will remember today, not just as a battle, but as the moment humanity rose to its rightful place." As the Xylar flagship faltered, humans launched a final, coordinated assault. Every ship, every pilot, and every weapon contributed to the effort. The flagship exploded in a blinding flash, and the remaining Xylar forces retreated in chaos. Humanity had won. The aftermath was profound. Entire star systems took notice. Humans had faced overwhelming odds, adapted brilliantly, and emerged victorious. The galaxy could no longer ignore them. Humans were no longer the underestimated species. They were a force to be reckoned with. Even those who had opposed humanity now approached cautiously, offering alliances or pledging neutrality. Humanity's reputation had evolved. They were feared for their power, respected for their intelligence, and admired for their courage. Captain Marlowe and her officers surveyed the battlefield. The cost had been high, but the victory was complete. Humans had proven that courage, strategy, and adaptability could overcome even the most formidable opponents. "Today we've shown the galaxy our strength," Elena said, "but strength alone is not enough. Humanity will continue to grow, to learn, and to inspire. We fight not to conquer others, but to ensure survival, justice, and respect. And the galaxy will know, never underestimate humans." Commander Renner nodded. Every fleet, every colony, every citizen contributed. Humanity has become a legend. The Xylar and their allies will remember this day, as will the galaxy. And humanity will not stop here. We will continue to explore, protect, and defend. Our journey has just begun. Across the human colonies, celebrations erupted. Pilots returned to cheers, engineers were honored, and colonists celebrated the resilience of their species. Stories of courage, daring missions, and brilliant strategy spread from system to system. Humanity had not just survived, they had risen as a symbol of hope and strength. The alien artifact, now safely secured, became a symbol of human ingenuity. Scientists continued to study it, unlocking its potential to improve technology, energy systems, and defenses. Humanity's understanding of the galaxy had expanded, and their capacity for innovation grew stronger with every discovery. The Xylar Dominion, though defeated, still existed. But their power had been broken, their reputation tarnished. Other empires now recognized humanity as a dominant force capable of shaping galactic events. Fear, respect, and admiration became intertwined wherever humans were known. Captain Marlowe addressed her fleet one final time. "We have fought the impossible, adapted to every challenge, and emerged victorious. Humanity has proven that courage, intelligence, and determination are more powerful than brute force alone. Remember this victory, but remember also that our journey is not over. The galaxy is vast, full of challenges, discoveries, and opportunities. Humanity will rise, explore, and endure. Our name will echo across the stars, not as conquerors, but as a people who faced every challenge and prevailed." Commander Renner added, "The galaxy now knows our name. They have seen what humans can do. Let this victory be the foundation of a new era, one where humanity is respected, admired, and never underestimated." As the human fleet dispersed, returning to their colonies and stations, the galaxy began to adjust to the new reality. Humans were no longer a minor species, they were legends. Pilots who had performed impossible feats were remembered in songs and stories. Engineers who had created groundbreaking technology were celebrated across colonies. Leaders like Captain Marlowe and Commander Renner became symbols of courage, intelligence, and determination. Even among alien species, humans inspired change. Those oppressed or threatened by the Xylar sought human protection. Those who had once dismissed humans now sought alliances. Across the stars, humanity's influence grew, not through conquest, but through ingenuity, bravery, and honor. The galaxy had learned one undeniable truth. Humans were unpredictable, fearless, and unstoppable when united. They had survived impossible odds, turned weakness into strength, and risen to a legendary status that would be remembered for generations. Captain Marlowe stood on the observation deck of Horizon's Edge, looking out at the stars. Each one represented a colony, a fleet, a life touched by humanity's courage. She thought of the journey so far, the battles, the risks, the losses, and the victories. Humanity had faced the impossible and emerged triumphant. "They will tremble at our name," she whispered. "Not because we are cruel, not because we conquer without reason, but because we are humans. We endure, we fight, and we inspire, and the galaxy will never forget it." And so humanity's legend was secured. From the smallest colonies to the mightiest fleets, humans had proven that courage, intelligence, and unity could overcome any obstacle. The Xylar Dominion had been defeated, their allies humbled, and the galaxy now understood one truth: underestimate humans at your peril. The war had been brutal, but it had forged a species stronger than anyone had imagined. Humans had risen from underdogs to heroes, from overlooked to legendary. The galaxy, once indifferent to their existence, now trembled at the mention of humanity's name.